When we talk about global power struggles, you probably picture tanks, jets, maybe cyber warfare.
Right, the traditional stuff.
But what if the real game changer, the key arena for the 21st century is actually biology, something that could fundamentally alter, well, everything.
That's exactly the territory we're exploring today, because great power competition has shifted. And biotechnology, well, it's right at the center now.
Maybe even more impactful long-term than, say, building more missiles.
Arguably, yes, its potential to reshape health, food, materials, national security. It's just immense.
Okay, so that brings us to our source material for this deep dive. We're looking at Chapter 5 of the National Security Commission on Emerging Biotechnology's final report.
That's the one. It's titled Build the Biotechnology Workforce of the Future.
And that title really gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? If the U.S. wants to lead, it needs the people.
Exactly. A skilled biotech workforce isn't just a nice to have. It's fundamental. It's the foundation for economic strength, for national security, for progress in, well, you name it, medicine, manufacturing.
Yeah, this isn't just lab coats and research papers, though that's part of it. It has real consequences for everyone listening.
Uh-huh. Think new vaccines, new therapies, but also the tech our military might need, or even keeping our food supply safe. It touches all of that.
So Chapter 5 lays out a plan, or at least an analysis.
It's a pretty comprehensive look. It dives into boosting biotech know-how within the government, cultivating talent here at home, and crucially, the role of attracting and keeping trusted talent from overseas.
A multi-pronged approach, then.
Definitely. It sees it as a whole ecosystem that needs attention.
All right, let's start with the first piece. Equipping the U.S. government itself. It seems like step one is making sure the folks in government actually understand this stuff.
Precisely. And it's getting more complex, right? Biotechnology isn't operating in a vacuum.
You mean how it connects with AI and quantum computing and all that?
Exactly. That convergence creates amazing possibilities, but also new challenges. So the government workforce needs to grasp not just biotech, but how it interacts with these other cutting-edge fields, and they need to stay current.
Which the report suggests isn't quite happening right now. Is there a gap?
It points to a gap, yeah. A need for a deeper, more up-to-date understanding across agencies, departments, even in Congress.
And not enough senior people with actual biotech training.
Well, that's mentioned too, a relative scarcity, which can definitely hinder good policy and quick action.
Okay, so recommendation 5.1a tackles this head on. How? Training.
Training is a big part of it. The idea is for Congress to tell the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, basically the federal government's HR, to set up interagency biotech training.
Interagency, so everyone's on the same page.
Right, and not just a one-off workshop. They envision ongoing cross-disciplinary programs.
Covering what exactly?
Yeah.
The science, the risks.
All of the above. The core science, the tech involved, how AI fits in the good and the bad, how government can use biotech, the risks, future trends, like you mentioned, quantum intersections.
And importantly,
they stress these programs need annual updates. Things move too fast otherwise.
makes sense. Keeping up is half the battle. What else is in 5.1a? Something about a framework.
Yeah. Alongside the training, they propose a National Biotechnology Workforce Framework. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, would lead this.
This sets standards, right? So this would define...
Define the jobs, basically. What skills and knowledge are needed for different biotech roles across the board? They'd work with academia, industry, nonprofits, other agencies to build this common language.
A common language.
Okay.
And that gets updated too.
At least every 3 years, the report recommends. It needs to stay relevant.
So training and a common framework. What about figuring out who they actually need?
That's covered too. An interagency assessment. Figure out current workforce capabilities in biotech and what's needed down the road.
Competencies, numbers, even security clearances.
Yep, clearances are a key part. The National Biotechnology Coordination Office, the NBCO, is suggested as the potential overseer for this assessment.
Okay, so you know what you need. How do you get the people? Does 5.1a talk about hiring?
It does. It asks OPM to guide agencies on using existing hiring tools better and maybe piloting new ones, specifically for biotech talent.
Like what kind of tools?
Things like SME QA assessments, the STEM Direct Hiring Authority, special pay plans like DOE has, even fellowships like the AAAS program. Basically, use the tools you have, maybe create new ones.
Got it. So improve training, define the roles, assess the needs, and get better at hiring. Anything else in this first recommendation?
One more piece, Expanding public-private talent exchanges.
Bringing people in from industry or academia for a stint in government and vice versa.
Exactly. It keeps government folks current on the latest tech, commercial realities, investment trends, regulations. It's a two-way street for knowledge.
Okay, that's a lot packed into 5.1a. Let's move to 5.1b. This one seems focused on expertise across more agencies, especially security and diplomacy.
Right. Because biotech isn't just a domestic science issue. It has huge national security and international implications.
So diplomats and security personnel need to understand it too.
Absolutely. They need a solid grasp of biotech and biosecurity to handle global challenges effectively.
So what are the specifics here? More training.
Mandatory training, actually, for key agencies like USDA, HHS, DOE, and regular refreshers again, because the field changes so fast.
Refreshers seem critical.
Uh-huh. And the idea is to define the core knowledge needed and even share that with the Department of Defense and the intelligence community.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned security clearances earlier. That comes up again here.
It does. The report points out that often the experts working on biotech issues, say at USDA or HHS, might not have the security clearances needed to fully engage on national security aspects.
So that slows things down or prevents information sharing.
Exactly. So the recommendation is to get more relevant personnel cleared appropriately.
And it also suggests keeping experts on call, even after they leave government.
Yeah, maintaining a sort of bench of cleared biotech experts, former federal employees who can be tapped for advice on national security matters, keeps that expertise accessible.
Smart. Okay, shifting to the international side within 5.1b, the State Department.
Big focus there. Expand the number of biotech professionals at state in the bureaus in the Special Envoy's Office for Tech, STEC.
Why? To boost biotechnology diplomacy.
That's the idea. To better understand and engage with other countries on these issues, we need diplomats who get both the science and the geopolitics.
And more tech officers abroad.
Yep. Expand the Regional Technology Officer Program, the RTOs, and maybe have some specifically focused on biotech. Better intel, better positioning for international agreements.
And training for diplomats, too.
Definitely. Including potentially a deep dive course for those working heavily in this area.
So, really embedding biotech expertise into foreign policy. Now, 5.1c turns the focus inward, towards Congress. Why the concern there?
Well, Congress makes the laws and controls the funding, right? They need reliable, nonpartisan science advice to make informed decisions about biotech.
And the report suggests they don't have enough of that internally. It mentions the old Office of Technology Assessment.
Right, the OTA, which was defunded back in '95, it provided Congress with deep technical analyses. Its absence left a bit of a void.
So how does the report propose to fill that void? What's in 5.1c?
Several things. First, strengthen hiring and pay at the Congressional Research Service, CRS, so they can attract more tech experts.
CRS does the analysis for Congress now, right?
They do. Second, formally authorize and boost funding and staffing for the GAO's Science and Tech Assessment Office, STAA. They suggest adding at least 50 more scientists and engineers there.
GAO is the watchdog, the investigative arm.
Okay.
Third, set up a new Office of the Congressional Science and Technology Advisor, OCSDA, to kind of coordinate the expertise from CRS and CAA. So, beefing up the internal advisory structure.
Right.
What about bringing expertise in from outside?
Good point. It proposes fellowships letting executive branch biotech experts rotate through congressional offices.
Get that practical knowledge directly to the Hill.
Exactly, and hold a regular science and tech fellowship fair to connect fellows with offices that need them.
And ethics. That seems crucial with biotech.
Very. It recommends a standing congressional commission on responsibility and ethics in innovation, CREI, for nonpartisan guidance.
Plus, regular briefings for Congress from the agencies themselves.
Yes, keeping lawmakers consistently updated on federal biotech policy.
Okay, that wraps up the government focus. Let's shift to Section 2. Supporting job creation for Americans. The report sees a mismatch here between education and industry needs.
A big one. That's a central theme. Our current education and training pipeline isn't always producing workers with the specific skills the biotech industry needs right now.
People aren't quite ready for the jobs available.
In some cases, yeah, especially in areas like biomanufacturing.
Which brings us to Recommendation 5.2a, focused specifically on biomanufacturing training. Why the spotlight there?
Because biomanufacturing, making biological products at scale, is a huge and growing part of the bioeconomy, and we need skilled people to do it.
The report mentions some existing programs doing good work.
It does, yeah. InnovaTBO, NSF programs like Excellent, Biomade, BioFab USA, and IMBL. Even programs linking veterans to these jobs like DoD Skill Bridge and Warfighter to Scientist workshops.
So the recommendation is more of that. Expand them.
Expand them geographically, increase participation, coordinate them better so they're not duplicating efforts, check if they're actually working assessment, and get some accreditation going.
And make sure they cover both entry-level folks and people already working who need new skills.
Exactly. Upskilling is just as important as initial training.
Now, you mentioned accreditation. That ties into another point about standardizing skills, right? What's the problem now?
The lack of standardization. You might get training at one place, but an employer somewhere else might not know exactly what skills that credential represents.
So workers might have to get retrained unnecessarily, and employers can't easily tell who's qualified.
That's the issue. So Recommendation 5.2a also pushes for nationally recognized competency models. Get commerce, labor, other agencies to work together on defining what skills are needed for biomanufacturing roles.
Like specific micro-credentials for lab techniques or safety.
Exactly. Things like that would make skills more portable and understandable across the industry.
Okay, moving beyond just manufacturing to broader biotech education in 5.2b, the report seems worried about the K-12 level.
Definitely worried. It points out that, incredibly, not all states even require high school biology to graduate.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. And even where it is required, less than 30% of public high school bio courses cover molecular biology.
Which is kind of fundamental to modern biotech.
Absolutely fundamental. And high school is often the last chance to spark that STEM interest for many students.
It mentions the NDEA National Defense Education Act from the Sputnik era. Like, we need something similar now, an NDEA 2.0.
That idea is floated, yeah. A national push to boost STEM, including biotech. It also mentions the Next Generation Science Standards, NGSS, but notes adoption is patchy.
So, since education is mostly state and local, what's the federal role here? Just cheerleading?
More than that, support, resources, funding, guidance. The feds can encourage and enable states and local districts to strengthen biotech education.
And 5.2b has specific ways Congress can do that.
Yes. First, a new NSF grant program for creating clear pathways from school to biotech careers, making sure credits transfer easily.
Smooth the transitions. Okay.
Second, a biotechnology scholarship for service program, like the cyber one maybe. Pay for school in exchange for government service later.
Incentivize studying biotech and working for the government.
And third, a biotechnology for all high school students initiative. This would involve NSF and the Department of Education working together on grants and building a consortium to really push biotech education in high schools.
A pretty comprehensive plan to build that domestic talent pipeline from the ground up.
Yeah.
All right, Section 3. Attracting and retaining trusted foreign talent. The U.S. has always been a magnet for STEM talent, right?
Historically, yes. A top destination. The report notes over 53,000 international students and researchers just in biological and biomedical sciences in 2024. Huge asset.
There's a but. We're not good at keeping them.
That's the crux of the problem. Our current immigration policies often make it really hard for these brilliant people to stay here long-term after they graduate or finish their research.
So they go elsewhere.
They often do, and the report highlights that competitors, like China, are actively recruiting them from U.S. universities. It's a strategic brain drain.
It feels counterproductive. We educate them, then wave goodbye.
It really is. We lose out on their inventions, their startups, the IP they helped create here. They take that knowledge, often developed with U.S. funding, and build businesses elsewhere because our system makes it too difficult to stay.
That Canadian H-1B pilot program filled up in a day. That says a lot.
It really underscores the demand and the competition. We're making it harder for ourselves.
So, Recommendation 5.3a offers a direct solution. New green cards specifically for biotech talent.
That's the core proposal. Congress should authorize new green cards permanent residency aimed squarely at people with top biotech skills, especially those from allied and partner countries.
To keep the graduates from our own universities here.
Primarily, yes. Foreign students graduating with advanced degrees or people with equivalent qualifications and experience in biotech fields.
Who decides who qualifies?
The report suggests the Secretary of Homeland Security would set the criteria looking at education, work history, specific skills, maybe endorsements from employers or institutions.
It also mentions Senator Young's Heartland Visa Act. How does that fit?
It's mentioned as potentially complementary. That act is broader, aiming to bring skilled immigrants to economically struggling areas across different sectors. It could work alongside a biotech-specific green card, tackling different parts of the same overall challenge.
Okay, so make it easier for the talent we want to stay. But security is still a concern, right?
Yeah.
especially with sensitive tech like biotech.
Absolutely. Which brings us to recommendation 5.3b, optimizing the vetting process.
How finding that balance, welcoming talent, but blocking espionage or illicit tech transfer.
Exactly. It's crucial. The recommendation is for Congress to ensure the vetting process for foreign nationals is both effective and efficient. We need to protect sensitive tech without shutting the door on legitimate talent.
How do they propose optimizing it?
It starts with better information gathering, continuously updating policies on visa screening and restrictions based on current intelligence, then a thorough review of the current federal visa processes.
Find the weaknesses, improve the capabilities to spot threats.
Right. While making sure legitimate applicants aren't overly burdened, the report specifically suggests a GAO audit.
GAO again, auditing visa restrictions, screening, vetting, making recommendations to counter espionage from countries of concern.
Precisely. Look at what's working, what's not, and how to fix it.
And the report acknowledges some steps already taken, like that presidential proclamation about TLA-affiliated students.
It does. It mentions things like the NSF Secure Center, Proclamation 17043, the National Vetting Center. Efforts are underway.
So the GAO audit would look at those too.
Yeah.
And research security at universities and companies.
Yes. Assess how effective all these policies and procedures actually are in practice.
So the goal is a smarter, more targeted vetting system that protects secrets but doesn't scare away the brilliant minds we need.
That's the tightrope they're trying to walk, essential for leadership and security in biotech.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in Chapter 5. As we wrap up, can you boil down the main takeaways for building this future biotech workforce?
Sure. It really comes down to three big pillars. First, you've got to equip the government itself, better training, better science advice for policymakers.
Get your own house in order.
Exactly. Second, nurture the domestic talent pipeline. That means better, more coordinated biomanufacturing training, national skill standards, and seriously boosting biotech education starting right from high school.
Build it at home.
Right. And third, smartly manage international talent. Create clear pathways like new green cards to attract and keep top global biotech minds, especially from allies, while having a really effective, optimized value system to protect national security.
Train internally, build domestically, attract and retain globally, but securely.
That sums it up pretty well. They're all interconnected.
So why should you, listening right now, care about these government reports and workforce recommendations?
Because honestly, this isn't just policy wonk stuff. A strong, skilled, secure biotech workforce is fundamental to America's future. It affects our ability to fight diseases, protect ourselves from biothreats, keep our economy competitive, develop new energy sources.
It impacts health, security, the economy.
Directly. The medicines you might rely on, the jobs available in growing industries, even our standing in the world. It's all tied to how well we manage this biotechnology revolution and the people who drive it.
That really puts it into perspective. Okay, a final thought for you to consider then. We know there's this fierce global race for biotech talent, and the science is moving at lightning speed.
It really is.
So, thinking about everything we've discussed, training, education, visas, security, how can we as individuals and as a nation best position ourselves not just to react, but to actively shape and contribute to this unfolding biotech future? What's the right balance?
That's the big question, isn't it? Definitely something to think about.